Hello and welcome to Module 4 on egoism. I want to, first of all, before we get started, just talking about egoism and what to expect in this module, I do want to make note of the fact that the first ethical summary paper is actually due before this module is complete. So you've completed Module 3, sort of, we're beginning Module 4, but there is sort of the summary paper that is due in the interim, in the period before this next module deadline. So please make note of that. I won't give you the date because it will vary from course to course, but it is, please do check on that. There is a link inside, like below this video, to the summary paper that will give you the options on what papers to read to summarize, as well as a link to drop it in there. If you go to the top of the page with all the modules, there's one called summary papers, and that will give you more details about the papers in general and other things. Okay, so let me talk now about egoism. So as far as egoism goes, egoism is it's what we would call a consequentialist theory. It is worried about the consequences that come about, but instead of being worried about the consequences of how do I hurt other people, how do I, what are the consequences for everyone in the world, which is what utilitarianism does, egoism comes in and says, how's this affect me? What are the consequences on me if I do this? What are the consequences on me if I don't do this? And basically it's ego. You can think of somebody who's egotistical as being selfish. Ego is for self, or me, or I, the self. And so one who is an egoist is one who is self-interested. They're just worried about how it affects them. Now, usually egoism starts with the premise of what we call psychological egoism. And it starts with this idea that there's an observation that people by and large are selfish. But it's a little bit more advanced than that. It says, it's not just that you're selfish, it's that everything you do, even things that you think are not selfish, are in fact selfish. If you go out and you give to charity, you feel good about it. So there's some self-interest in there. You feel good about it. Why do you give to charity? Because you like giving to charity. Why do you help other people? Because you enjoy helping other people. As a matter of fact, there's a financial guy named Dave Ramsey I've listened to. Sometimes he's kind of like a guy, he's on the radio sometimes when I'm driving. And one of the things he says is he likes to talk about, making a lot of money so you can give a lot of money away. He says there's nothing more fun than making a lot of money. And, you got $100 and you'll have more fun just giving $100 away on the street to random people, giving everybody a $20 bill, than you will going out and spending $100 doing other things. And he essentially says, that charity to him is a lot of fun. And so that's essentially what the egoist is saying, is they're saying everything you do, you enjoy, you get pleasure from it, or you wouldn't do it. And so don't sit there and try to pretend as if anything you do is not self-interested. I'll give these arguments a little bit more in depth, a little bit more convincingly, but essentially it says, think of anything you did and then think, did I enjoy that? Did I get pleasure from that? Did I do anything just because it was for other people's interest, not myself? And it may be that you would just have felt guilty if you didn't. You would have felt bad if you didn't. And that's what egoism is. Now, there's some arguments against it. And then there's what we might consider a little bit more of a sophisticated concept of egoism, which comes along kind of with social contract theory, which is the idea that our own self-interest is society, that if we don't adhere to the rules of society, we will kind of be expelled from society. We won't be able to participate, and we benefit from society. If you were to be left alone in the wilderness, have to grow all your food and provide all your everything, you would likely not live a long life. You would die young. That's just the way it is. We benefit from living in a society where there are people who have a common defense, who provide services, and as a result, we enter into a social contract to improve or to better ourselves, to negate the brutality of the world. And so all these are kinds of forms of egoism, and I will have you read a little article on that. My lesson is on egoism, and then there's also a short reading from the Ring of Gyges by Plato, in which Gyges basically argues that the only reason we do good is because we worry about what people think of us, not because good is, being honest is good in and of itself. All right. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me.